AC type B pump, 6 screws. This fits 30 to 32 Chrysler Dodge DeSoto. The type B can be identified by this 3-screw cover, which is 2 springs underneath it. One of them is the diaphragm return spring, and the other one is the arm return spring. Let's go through it and make it all better. Don't forget to mark it. Here's a good example of how somebody, I'm sure this has been rebuilt previous to me getting it, but let's go for it. First thing we want to do is remove these two nuts, which happen to cover the inlet and the outlet valves. Don't forget to remove these gaskets. And there's 2 springs and 2 valve plates. Get the springs out. Pretty worn out little things. Get the glass bowl out of the way. And the bail. Remove the 6 screws. Due to the fact that this has been together for a while, you might have to use a putty knife to separate the bodies. And there's one of the valves, and there's the other one down there on the floor. Now we're on to the diaphragm. This is a good example of a previous rebuilder just grabbing anything that'll work. This plate, all this is just a washer, which is wrong. It's even got a small washer on the bottom of it. And you can see how it's been nuts been digging into it. Oh yeah, we even got a regular flat washer in there instead of a copper washer. How did this last so long? I have no idea. Remove these 3 screws, and there'll be 2 springs and 2 cups underneath it. Well, there's supposed to be 2 cups. There's only 1. This thing sure wasn't put together very good. Remove the gasket. Here's an example of what too much play would be. You can almost move this arm the width of the arm, And it looks like the pin's already started coming out, so we're going to knock it out the rest of the way. Get the arm out and the two links. Normally there'd be a D washer on this side. A D washer would fit right over this end, and then they'd peen this here to keep it from sliding out. It looks like we got a lot of wear in the pin. Hopefully there's not any wear in the arm, but we won't know that until we get it all cleaned up. These are the links that go in here. There's a right way and a wrong way. You can see how this pin is off-centered to the top, or it's off-center, period. It can go in this way, which is wrong, but it's got to go this way. You got a lot of wear. This setup's been in service for quite a while. So we're going to replace all of that. Normally in a kit, one of our rebuilding kits, you get two pins, the little Jesus clips that go on them, on either side. Sometimes you'd get a new pull rod, be replaced by one whole unit. But unless you mention that, what you're going to get is a diaphragm. You're going to reuse your pull rod, and you get the copper washer that belongs on here. Okay, it's time for cleanup. Okay, everything's been bead blasted, cleaned, clear coated, and it also took a trip through the belt sander to make sure everything was flat. What I found was this surface here, I had mentioned before and probably in another video, what people tend to do is over tighten the bail that covers the bowl, and over a period of time this will stretch, it'll bend. These two corners will go down, and you can see how that rocks. Well, you'll never get that to seal, no matter how thick a gasket you put in it. You have to flatten this out. Well, what I do is I made a tool that fits in here. And I clamp it down on a piece of metal, and I heat this up with a propane torch. I heat up these two sides while I get a clamp on the center, pushing down. And it eventually will relax and become flat. And rather than sitting here watching me do this, how about if I do it and then I'll show you the results. It's going to take probably 15-20 minutes to do it, but I'll be back. While that's cooking, I came to the conclusion that there's just a little bit too much play in this to let it go back into service. Also on the arm, all the wear that was found was in this pin. As you can see, a new pin. There's very little movement there. There is a little, but that'll let oil get in there. So I'm putting in a staked unit. Along with these new pins. There's no movement in there. just enough to get some lubrication. There was no wear in the link, so that's fine to use again. I just replaced this pin with a new one, and that comes in the kit. The links don't. And this assembly already staked like this doesn't come with the kit. All you'll get is just a diaphragm, and you have to reuse your original pull rod, and you can if there's no wear in it. But what I suggest is take it all apart, check the pin, see how much play is in it, and then you make the call. If it rocks a lot, while you're ordering a kit, ask for a staked diaphragm assembly. What you're going to have to know is, you see how this hole goes through here. See if the hole lines up in between the screw holes, or if it lines up with the screw hole. And they'll be able to make you a new one. Included in the kit, you get 2 springs. See if I can back out a little bit. You get 2 springs, and they're 2 different heights. And the question we get all the time is, which one goes where? Which one goes over the diaphragm? Which one goes for the arm return? I normally put this heavy one over the diaphragm. Check out what you take out of it and just replace them that way. After cooking for a while, like I said, 15-20 minutes, maybe a half hour, and brought it back to being flat once again. No movement. You'll get a good seal on that. While it's here, you got to refinish in here and in here. You don't have one of these fancy tools. Get a dowel, a wooden dowel, and put a piece of sticky sandpaper on the end of it. Of course, you'll have to cut it out. Run it around a few times just to make it clean, like that. Get out your flat file, clean this surface and this surface. A lot of leaks can happen in there. Give you an example. I don't know, I'll try to get it in the right spot. You can see how the tool that I use hit over here and not on this side. Same thing with the other one. It hit over here and not over here. So we take the flat file, a lot better than it was. Time for the valves. Valves for this pump. Small octagonal. Drop it in. Make sure it sits flat. It's got to sit down flat against that. Put in a spring. One of the plugs, you should call it a plug or not, doesn't matter, The spring's going to sit right in there. Tighten it down. And the other plug, the other valve. And the plug. Again, tighten it down. A lot of times you run into a leak if the surface isn't cleaned, if the nut or plug isn't tight, you'll end up with a leak right around in here. Same thing with this one. Put on the screen. Put on the gasket. The bail. And the bowl. Snug them up. Remember, don't kill it. You don't have to. Fuel section's done. Now we move on to the body. Get the pin started in through here. This part is important, the way that this link goes. I'll turn it sideways here. See how it's offset? You want it offset to the top. It'll sit like that, as opposed to this way, which is wrong. Put it in like that. Set it into the pump. I like to get a guide pin in from the other side to keep everything in line. Because sometimes you have to hit this pin, and I need both hands for that. It's all in there nice and tight, but we need some reassurance that it's not going to come back out on its own. Get your center punch. Just dimple the casting on a couple of the sides. On both sides. It won't be out. It'll stay there. Diaphragm. Take one of the new pins, slide it in, and put the little Jesus clip on the other side. Be careful. You don't get any extra ones of these, and if you mess up, you'll be digging out for the old ones. Take a peek and make sure that the holes line up. At this point, I put in that 3-screw cover. Set the two springs with the cups. Get them caught. Have your screwdriver handy. And bring these down even. Try not to cross thread them. Yes, that's somebody playing Words with Friends. Snug them down. Don't kill them. Just bring them down nice and tight. We're ready for the fuel section now. Okay, locate your indexing marks. This one here had quite a few of them. We've got a gouge in this thing in a line. A couple of lines here, another gouge. Get the screws caught. Don't run them down. Now we can preload it. Pull the diaphragm. Pull the arm as far as it'll go. Tighten up all your screws. Quick, easy test. This baby's ready. There's your type B pump. Part number 5744.